evening, Budapest, and good afternoon, San Antonio, Texas.
Well, I bet you don't say that too often.
Oh, you're so funny. What's up?
Hello, Karen. How lovely to see you again.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And hello, Houston.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
this is a real treat for me. I was so excited when you guys reached out to
Oh,
reconnect with both of you and just have these great conversations. I just have
excellent.
such respect for you both.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well,
Awesome.
for those of you that may not remember, Karen was one of our, you were number four guest when we first started Iridology around the world, way back when, way back when we were all younger. And you were my first internet virtual student.
Yes, that's
So
right.
yeah. So it was pre-COVID, I think, or
It,
after.
it was
Yes, it was.
COVID.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
you were my first, and you and I have just uh kept in contact. And for those that may not remember, if you did not see this first interview, please go back to YouTube channel Iridology Around the World. Take a look at the first one and come back and watch the second one, or watch second first. I don't care. Karen learned iridology a long time ago. She became certified through IPA, but she is a psychic, and she uses
Yes.
the eyes to make a connection with her clients. And I find that very,
Mm,
very fascinating.
that's
So,
amazing, isn't it?
what I would like to talk about, and I'm just going to jump on this, and Chris, um, feel free to guide me too on this.
Oh,
But
I
we
will.
know we know that you make a connection with the eyes. And tell us about that connection with the eyes and your psychic abilities, how you work with your client.
So I did get my certification in iridology, and what I really came to learn in that space, amongst the millions of things that you can see in the eyes, is the significance of the energy as it travels into the body through our eyes.
Wow.
And then the connection energetically as it comes out of the eyes. So I certainly use markers, different things to tip me off, which I'll give you some ideas of that. But primarily what happened was, here I was in iridology, nose to nose, looking at eyes, and I started getting other information. And I knew I had the ability to be able to do that, but I didn't realize it could come through quite that loudly or
Yeah.
quite that strongly. And so I started to share. And as I was doing my iridology sessions, I oftentimes was talking later about doing psychic readings, mediumship readings, and really growing that business more so. So my background's corporate America, and a lot of what I would get was that, we attract our people. So I was getting a
Good.
lot of corporate, burnout, stressed markers in the eyes, and then started getting more and more conversation around that, which led to more and more readings in that space, which is primarily my focus. So now if I'm connecting with someone, which I do probably 95%, just like this on Zoom,
Yeah.
people say, how can you connect to my energy? Well, the eyes are the window to the soul.
Mm,
And if I can see your eyes and connect in with you, then I can have a whole conversation with you, no matter where you are in the world,
yeah.
energetically. And if we're blessed enough to have good markers, good cameras, and everything set up just right, I shouldn't say good markers, markers that we can see, I can oftentimes see, we've definitely got heavy grief markers, or stress markers, or maybe I'm seeing something that doesn't look quite right in the iridology sense that I find now, instead of scanning you energetically for your health and wellness, which many people ask about, I can say, boy, do I know people in iridology, and pass them on. So it's a
Yeah.
combination, I would say, of how I use it
Good.
and how I came to do it.
So
That's
with
awesome.
your work in corporate America and how you're kind of fusing your work today, if an iridologist was questioning their path or their business or their model that they have, and they would like a little bit of guidance, would you be somebody that they could come to and ask for a little bit of extra
Mm,
help or a little bit of extra guidance?
good
Absolutely.
question.
I call it intuitive business strategy. And really, what it's doing is it's taking our strategy that we all know how to build around our businesses, and gathering our data, which is another thing that's sort of physical. We have some context with it. And then touching base with our own intuition to make sure that our decisions are aligned and that we're following that path that's going to take us to our highest good. So yes, I think that there's a lot of movement and flexibility. We tend to think we just need to be successful. We just need to get from A to B.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's in a roundabout way how we do it.
Yes.
Sometimes we need to reflect back on ourselves. Sometimes we need to go look in the mirror at our own eyes and really start to have that conversation with ourselves. And it's easier to confirm the thoughts that go through our head when we hear it from someone else.
Right.
Absolutely.
We carry so much baggage, we think we're supposed to do this, but then we have all this baggage in our head and we're like, oh, I should do that. That will never work. Well, that's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Mhm.
But if you hear it from a stranger,
Yeah.
I always say that about my husband. I'll tell him something matter of factly, and he'll say, okay. And then he'll come home one day, he'll say, I saw this guy on the internet and he said, and suddenly it's a fact.
Oh, it's
That's
funny.
I
great.
love to work with people in the business space. I
Mhm.
really do. It's always been a passion of mine. And for sure, I love the iridology space
Yeah.
and have such respect, like just such respect.
Excellent.
What a needed area, really, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
Iridology is a very needed, but I know where you were going with that.
I meant for the business world.
Yes, I agree.
Awesome.
I agree.
So, Karen, have you read anything or studied anything new in iridology of noteworthy?
Well, I've been secretly following two people, and they've been discussing this new class on sclerology. And I'm not going to lie, here I am right here with them. I find and have found since day one a very strong attachment to the sclerology side of things. I
Fabulous.
don't know why I'm so fascinated with it, other than to say, I think it's because I'm a linear thinker.
Yeah.
I tend to not see all of the flowers and the detail. And to me, the sclerology is just more in line with the way I think and see things.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more specific. So,
Yeah.
and then just talking earlier today, to know now the history and what you guys are going to bring in and the details that are sitting there, I am fascinated by it.
Big
We're
deal.
very excited about our scholology course coming up starting in about a week. Oh, a
Mm.
week and a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple of weekends in 2 weekends, I
That's it.
believe.
Yeah.
Oh, we better
Very
get our game
exciting.
face on.
It's a huge responsibility, and I don't need to tell either of you that. I think that when we're talking to people at that level, and now to be able to go even deeper and see that and impact people's lives. It's just like what I do, only at a different level now. When you have the ability to impact people's lives like that, I think it's just so remarkable.
It's great.
You know, I look
Well,
at iridology. I've told people this. My life didn't start till I learned iridology. You know, I was 35, 34, 35 years old when I first met Dr. Jensen. And that was just like my wake-up call.
yeah.
That's so interesting. And a very interesting perspective, because I could maybe say the same.
Mm.
Oh, well,
I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
think that it really fed into this energetic space for me and led me down a path that allowed me to get out of my box
Yeah.
and
Yeah, wow.
explore things. So I
Yeah.
think I could even say the same.
Yeah.
And I've met fantastic people. Of course, the two of you. I've been involved. I work with police to help find missing people. And I've been
Really?
involved with other people in the iridology community that have reached out to me to help. I've had some I just had a referral just the other day from a pasture that came from someone
Yeah.
in the space that is processing through grief. We're all human, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's just another space energetically of where we're
Mhm.
at.
Mhm. So
Well,
you mentioned something about grief in the eyes. Can you kind of build out on that a little bit more
yeah.
and talk about that?
Yes, my thoughts on that. That's a very interesting question. I haven't really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I find, unless you have extremely dark eyes like mine, you just see nothing, that if it's a grief or a stress, let me just think about that 1 second. Yep, I would say if it's a grief or stress marker, for some reason they're so dark.
Mm.
So I don't ever see anybody who has a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
Right. I just talked in Las Vegas last week about this. It's like
Yeah.
being a little bit pregnant. You're in full on fight or flight. The tiger's chasing you and wants to eat you. And I think that with grief, that it either impacts us so quickly that it's so deep, or it's a lengthy process of grief. And of course, this could be a human that we're grieving. It could be the loss of a lifestyle, a job, a family. It could be, so many things that we grieve. But they're so much more distinct to me. I
Mm.
think, and I do think it's something to do with the richness of the pigment in the markers. And that's just
Oh,
my
Interesting.
non-iridology comment on it, but it's how I see them. They
Right.
just stand out a little
Right.
bit more.
Yeah.
amazing.
I know I've had readings by you where my mother has come through. Oh, I've had, well, my dad came through too. If I don't know if you remember or not, but you've given me several readings. And, I grieved for a long time after my mother passed. She passed at the beginning of 2019. And so what, it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years.
Mm.
It
But it doesn't
literally,
seem that long, does it?
no, no. It literally took me a full 5 years, I believe, before I could exhale, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. Because I just felt, just like I was holding on, holding on, holding on. And when I released my book last year, Cranial Nerves and Muscle Mapping, which is basically, if anybody has read that, if you've started studying from me on that, that was a tribute to her. You know, that's what that book centered around. And so it was almost like studying something that she studied, but I mapped it out in the eyes. So it was like I could feel her guiding me through writing that book, if that makes sense to anybody. But
Yeah.
it was sharing that book with my mother and sharing my mother with my students and my clients and mapping all that out, doing the research. Even though it was 12 years of research, I'd started paying attention to 12 years before. It all came to a way of letting her go. Not
Yeah.
letting her go. I haven't let her
Right.
go, but I let that grief say, you know what, you're not going to possess me. You're not going to hold me captive anymore because I know she's still here. She's
Yeah.
with me. She's still here. So I know that you understand that because you understand me quite a
Yep,
bit.
absolutely. And I wonder too, do you feel like you made the reference that you weren't when you weren't going to breathe, that you were holding on, that grief is processing something that we're losing
Mm,
or
Yeah.
perceived to be
mm,
losing.
mm.
And I wonder if it makes us hold on a little bit tighter. Do you think grief markers show up darker, or is that just my imagination?
You know, oof, I've got to think about that because I always look to the lungs for grief.
Hmm.
Because I know that
Yep.
that's the part of the body, the physical part, the physical organ that holds on to grief.
Yep.
And so I use that analogy of holding, I was holding, and when I finally let it go and I was able to exhale, you do feel like you're letting go when you exhale, which that's what you are doing. But it was like a load off my shoulders. So when I look to the lungs and I look to the sclera to show me any issues there, I always ask about grief. I've never
Right.
really thought of it in a pigment sense like you do, but that's the beauty of iridology. We've got a base. We know what that base is. We know what the rules are. We're looking at the game plan when we look at somebody's eye, but it's to make it what it make it for you. You're the
Right.
Yeah.
reader. That makes sense.
Yep.
It does.
Yeah.
I
So
do.
Cool.
grief is heavy, and
It is
grief
heavy.
is a lot to carry.
Yep. And we hold on to it.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Definitely.
Wow. I hope this is
So,
helping somebody out there. I know it is. I shouldn't say I hope it is because I know it is, but we are in a time right now where there's grief, there's many kinds of grief. It's not only
there is.
loss. It's not only
I,
the loss of
yep.
a loved one.
Right. I absolutely. The other thing that I think is really common that I still refer back to iridology for, and again, to me, it's just a very clear marker, is that, I'll call it that rustyish color that we see with more in the digestive issues. And I also have found that stress and grief are often connected into creating that digestive situation too. And that's another thing too. When I can say to someone, it's like a plus uh, add-on, a free little add-on to say, let me refer you to somebody who can detail out what's happening. If I can see it, it's
Yeah.
time to take some proactive steps to start
Mm,
working on
mm,
that. And in today's society, I think, of course, I see a lot in corporate America, a lot of, I call it, that overwhelmed, overworked. My exercise routine was working my butt off, and that didn't really work.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we aren't doing well if we aren't saying that we're stressed out, right? Like even our
Yeah.
world has started to say that about us. And when you can take that now and go to an iridologist and have them look and connect all the dots and give you the much bigger, the genetic side, the historical side, the things that are more in the preventative space, all the way through to and here and now. And here's the tools to be able to do something about that. I don't think I've ever seen a client that's not been stressed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I think that was another thing that was so significant for me around iridology is that I felt like, and it happened in the first couple. I was like, "Ooh, this spot looks not good to me, Kathy. Please help." And you
Yeah,
confirmed, and it was usually something huge. But what I came to find is that yes, there are these significant markers, the bigger health things, but there's so much more around that. Like, don't wait until it's some big marker that you're looking for. I wished I would have had a baseline on my eyes through all this whole time. I was adopted. I didn't have that history. I didn't know that stuff. So to be able to look at things and experience things through your eyes
Mhm.
yeah,
is so remarkable.
Mhm. I think too, and Chris, you're responsible for some of this. He's helped me understand grief through his own experiences. He lost his first wife at a very young age, and then when we were in California in last year, wasn't it?
yeah,
Your Kylie's father passed away,
that's right.
and you were with him just what a day or two before he did leave.
That's right. It was
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you notice anything about his eyes or?
Oh, it was incredible. It's because I actually saw him just after the conference. Like he died. I arrived home on a Tuesday and he died on the Thursday. And I went to see him and I was just holding his hand. He wasn't conscious, but I just held his hand and I said, Jim, it's okay when you're ready. You can go, you can just let go, and Kylie will be waiting for you to hold your hand and walk you through and all of that. And he, as soon as I said Kylie's name, he opened his eye, and it was like he was completely white. It was almost like his ring of like the ring of determination, the cholesterol ring had covered his eye. And it was I mentioned that this year, and Jackie Latimer reached out to me, and she said in Chinese medicine, in some of the work she does, it's sometimes a way of the body um, when it's passing, when it's almost like letting go and almost dying, that the eye goes whitish, which is very interesting. I mean, I wish I had a photo, but it was a split second. But when he opened his eye, it literally looked so white, and I knew it was going to be soon, but I kind of feel I kind of have a sense that it was peaceful for him. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
I I've talked to a lot of people who have been through hospice in that time and the process of the passing. And in the hospice space, from the people that I've talked to, they've either seen very common the white or a very light blue, and they associate it. They aren't iridologists, of course, but they associate it with your eyes. What you're seeing is so expansive, and where you're going, and you're seeing all those that have gone
Mm.
before you. That it requires, and remember again, energetically, as is very well known through iridology, how you're connected back into your body, that we often to the reaching of the hands because they're seeing their loved ones coming in. So
Yeah.
energetically, they're triggering their body to get ready. Your soul is starting to leave, and your eyes are starting to behold what's there. And I've never heard anyone say that it wasn't a peaceful moment when the
Yeah.
eyes transition and they're starting, their soul is going. It's something that's really quite phenomenal.
It
Awesome.
is. Yeah.
Awesome. My gosh,
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day.
Oh, me too. Don't get me started. I'm so shy and quiet.
Oh yeah, little wallflower, little Karen Wallflower. Well, Chris, do you have any more questions for Karen while we've got her?
No, that's all. We
Okay.
talked about what she's studying soon, what she's reading, and yeah, no, that's all.
Well, I would really like for any iridologist out there, if you're struggling with your business, if your model or your path is not coming together and you would like guidance, please reach out to Karen. Karen, give us your handle. Where can we find you?
KarenRomine.com, KarenRomine.com. It's the quickest way. All my social media is on there. You can chat with me on there, send me a note. I'll respond, and I'd love to answer your questions and hear your story.
So easy to find you. And if you can't find her, you call me. I'll find her. I know where she is.
Yes,
She's
you
down the
will.
road a ways.
Yeah.
Well, as always, we appreciate you being here with us for our second part two, Iridology Around the World. And that's where this is going, is all around the world. And Chris, tell everybody where you are before you go to sleep.
Well, I'm in Budapest at the moment, and it's bedtime. It's almost 10, and I've been teaching my Bowen Inside Out class, which is a class that I teach Bowen therapists. Um, I teach them a lot. I introduce them to iridology. So I teach iris color and iris the pupil border, and then I also teach the tongue and the face, and integrating these signs to help them with their treatments, with their assessments. So it's a way of assessing the body through internally, like with what's happening internally, rather than assessing only through the spine and leg length and how the shoulders are sitting, etc. So it's teaching Bowen therapists to assess internally as well, which I love. And it's day two today. We've got one more day tomorrow, and they're very engaging class. My first time in Hungary, and I'll be back.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Well,
Wow.
then I will say good night,
Yeah.
Budapest, and you have sweet sleep. And Karen, you and I are both here in Texas, honey. I'll just see you down the road.
That's right.
And you know what I've been doing? It's really interesting because in Europe, there's so many vegan restaurants at the moment. So I've been to two amazing vegan restaurants here in Budapest, and there's even more if I wanted to go tomorrow. And there's such good food.
Wow.
Yeah,
How interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
so
just wouldn't associate
Hungarian
that.
goulash is very popular, and I wasn't going to have it obviously because it's got lots of meat in it, and I don't eat meat, but I had vegetarian goulash which tasted had the same spices and things, and it was delicious.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah,
What a great treat.
Yeah, that
yeah,
is.
it was great. Yeah.
All right. Well, you keep doing what you're doing. Karen, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and we're just going to help the world.
All right.
Bye bye, you
Thank
lovely
you.
Texans.
Bye.
Bye.